if you were with me a few minutes ago. So we have like a super very cold day in Vermont. It's like 14 degrees again, so kind of winter still here. I hope you're all being safe, dressing warm, going out with your winter coats, keeping things in your car because the temperatures are still dipping this week. So with that, I wanted to get on here and update you as much as we can on the Nancy Guthrie case. As many of you know, Nancy Guthrie is an 84-year-old woman. She is the mother of Savannah and Guthrie, who is in the Today Show, and her son Cameron is a Vermonter who flew. He's a retired F-16 fighter pilot, and a lot of you in Vermont know what those F-16s are. And her daughter Annie, who resides near her home with her husband. And Annie I think it's Ciccone is how you pronounce his name, her husband, have been just clobbered in the media with not even just suspicion, guys. It's gone to a whole new level. And I wanted to show you something here. I'm just going to put in Nancy Guthrie, and then we're going to go over an article, and then we're going to go over something, a clip on the media here. So let's see here. Now, if you look at the news medias like CBS News and ABC News, then, you know, you're staying like really up to date with fact. If you go to, which a lot of people do, they go to the YouTube media, and let me just see, without me even putting in too much here, I'll just put in Nancy's name, Nancy Guthrie. That's all I'm doing. Okay, now, you've got some news medias, and some of these I've been unfollowing, so, but let's see here. This one. This is by, it's called Blame Game 101. It says kidnappers found, okay? See that? The kidnappers are not found, guys. Okay, that's not true. So they show that, and the picture, let me just show you what they're doing. Where the little arrow is, there's a little arrow over here, and they're showing the brother-in-law Ciccone's face, and then guess what? They got a question mark on Savannah's face. Who are these people, and why are they not being checked for fact checking? Because that's what we're supposed to do on YouTube. Anyway, another one is let's see here. That one I've never heard of, so I'm not going to name that. Headlines like this. Nancy Guthrie, what FBI found in Tommaso Ciccone's car after 40 days is not what anyone expected. Headlines like that are extremely misleading. And again, they're false. It's a misrepresentation of information. Okay, so with that, I'm trying to emphasize that stay with the well-established reporting medias, guys, and these other people do not seriously, because it's the family is so traumatized as it is, and it just even puts them in so many bad situations on top of the situation they're already in. Um, it's just um, it's concerning. So with this, CBSnews.com, this is the update. This is an established, credible update. It's by Jonathan Vigliotti and Pat Milton, and this is as of yesterday, March 17th. With a few new leads, 45 days after Nancy Gutherie's disappearance, investigation becomes much harder, experts say. Nancy Guthrie has been missing for 45 days, and with the latest update in the case being of little use to authorities, one expert tells CBS the extended timeline means it becomes much harder to keep investigation going. Now, I'm going to disagree with that at this point, because it also may mean they're in the crux of the investigation. In other words, they have all the information they need, and now it's a timing issue. That's a very real part of investigations, guys. Law enforcement sources told CBS News that additional images were obtained in the last couple of weeks from the surveillance cameras installed in Guthrie's house in Tucson, Arizona, where she lived and believed to have been abducted in the middle of the night on February 1st. The images taken from a camera fastened to the fence and focused on the back of the house. Another showed the driveway and the front garage door, captured family members, landscapers, pool workers, stretching back weeks prior to the kidnapping. Nothing was deemed suspicious, and no images reviewed showed the suspect captured on the front door video. In the 7th week of investigation into the disappearance of 84-year-old mother of Today co-host Savannah Guthrie, doorbell camera video shared by the FBI on February 10th remains the only known images of the suspect. Okay, they're talking about the guy. We saw the video where he's taking the camera off the front door, and and first he's trying to cover it up with leaves, and he's all in apparatus. He has like gloves on and a mask. And now the weird thing that I find incredibly frustrating for me, just as a citizen, is they show a video. One of the videos they're showing of a person who that night, just before all of this, walking up the street in the neighborhood with something like tied around his waist. It looked like maybe he could have the coat on, like a coat tied around his waist, light coat like this guy was wearing. And so you can see he's got a bunch, stuff on, whatever, like backpack, and he looks like the guy. I mean, just my perspective as an artist, kind of when you do a flash look, you're looking at the same guy. And what's frustrating me to no end is in the clip, I don't know if it's before or after, but it's like within minutes of this guy walking, a cop drives by. A cop is driving by slowly. Like somebody in the neighborhood had called the cops because of a person or something going. It's so many near misses in this neighborhood. And then the same night in that neighborhood, there was a lady reported yelling out the window of a car, and she was dressed in all black, The police department says it has nothing to do with her. But it's very frustrating to see those near misses. And the other thing that frustrates me, just as like I used to do little investigations like at work, tiny little things, asking questions here and there about maybe an incident or something very small. But what's frustrating is when you look at the car on the video, the suspected getaway car, it's zooming through the neighborhood. And now they're asking for like people in the neighborhood, please give your video. First, they were only looking at a 2-mile radius. Why? Why? Because I was just thinking of the Kohlberger case, guys. So in the Kohlberger case, they had the car on the video there, like in the parking lot, and then it pulls away and it leaves. And they get some video later on by a convenience store that captured him on the main street. But you would think there's cameras, and I'm not talking about 2-mile radius. If they know all the routes out of there, even if it's a back road, there's got to be a camera between that place and the point of them like leaving further up the road. Where they could get a clear picture of the license plate or just more information, basically, visually. So that's frustrating me, but I believe that would be the path that they're diving down into, right? Do you agree with me? That they would be really studying the digitals in the surrounding areas because they've got to capture that car again. That cannot be the only video of that car. I don't believe that for a minute, even if it's at an intersection or past, yes, a convenience store or something. They've got to find that car. The other thing, the reason, then I'll finish this this article. The reason there's so many theories behind what happened to her, including somebody speculating that maybe it was a revenge thing because she was saying political things because of her political view. People, this is ridiculous. This is America. People are entitled to their view without somebody coming back and saying, no, you absolutely have to do this. No. But you've got that. You've got the theory, because she was at a restaurant. That's where I would have been looking like immediately, would be a restaurant in nursing homes. And the reason I say that is two things occurred right before this. Is Savannah herself was in a hospital. And, I tell you, I am shocked when I read the types of crimes that have occurred by people who call themselves nurses. They went and got a nursing degree in some of the articles that I have read. I read something not too long ago here in Vermont. We're going to cover it, but not today. But so it could be, that this person had ties to some kind of healthcare facility, and maybe they planned to admit her. There's so many wild things. Like they could admit her under another name, like days prior, and then because you have to do that type of thing actually like months prior. I'm just saying, if this was well planned out and it was somebody who's got some real issues, it could be that fantastical, it could be that crazy, or it could be as simple as other theories go, is someone breaking and entering, as it looks like them doing. But remember, perception is only part of the truth. Like the camera is giving you part of the truth, okay? Because why on earth was this person going through the front door? Like, why? There's so many whys, okay? Now, the other thing I want to address just before I forget, and then we'll get into this more, what the experts are saying, because I'm not an expert, it's just me. The other thing is, sorry, one moment, please. Um, there are some people out there, and I love this YouTuber. His name's Brewski. I think it's Brewski. Really, really like him. He's dynamite. He's got personality and this and that. And he does compassionately say things. He does say his truth. However, he came up with a really negative spin. There's just no more here, guys. There's just no more here. Because, and then he kind of mocked a little bit. He did, and I called him on it. But he said, if you have faith like that, well, I am a God-fearing faithful. I have faith in God. Yes, Brewski. I have faith, a lot of faith. So I did bring to Brewski's attention, people with faith are looking at this differently, and they really are. There could be so many scenarios occurring behind the scenes. If it was a targeted occurrence here, if it was targeted and somebody paid somebody to do something to create havoc, she could very well be, Nancy could very well be in a caregiver's position, being cared for. She could. That is not too far-fetched, guys. That happens. Or God could have blessed her and called her home pretty immediately if the situation was a havoc situation right there in that moment. So there's a number of things that could have occurred. However, I do have faith that they will find a link because they're just so close. They have so much digital information that it's just crazy. And I think they're just not telling us because they have a lot to go. They have way more to go on than many, 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 many of the other missing cases. So with that, I believe, so the spin I take on having faith is that it's not over till it's over, and we don't know a lot of the facts. And faith and prayers are answered, are real, and are far more powerful than humans. And that somehow, whatever the result is, that this beautiful family will get closure for their beautiful mother. They will get closure, guys. I know that they will. And just because there's so much evidence that they have. So Lance Leasing, a retired FBI supervisory special agent, told CBS News, it all points to a lack of meaningful leads. He says a lack of meaningful leads. That's the initial thing it says to me. Again, I don't see the cup as half empty. I see it as half full. Okay, you've got information as much as they've got. You have got to look at that half full. It becomes much harder, okay, as time goes on. DNA recovered from the scene is still being analyzed, with investigators turning to forensic genetic genealogy. Let me tell you something. Forensic genetic genealogy, that's what they used with Kohlberger, and it worked. In hopes of breaking the case wide open, and they will. Oh, here it says right here. Yeah, that they used it with Brian Kohlberger. Okay, in Idaho 2022. Leasing warned, however, that the process takes a while. Maybe you've got multiple people within the same DNA family that could potentially be suspects. And this is true if the family is large. And, you know, they've got the exact profile of this guy. And the drawing that is out there has the nose all wrong. It does. I'm sorry. I mean, I love, love, love my fellow artisans. I do. But the nose is a hooked nose. Unless she was going by a different video and there are two different guys like they were talking. That is a possibility, guys. So you have to investigate each one of these independently. Authorities also continue to receive tips with over 1,500 potential leads coming to the FBI after the Guthrie family announced a $1 million reward. But it's been nearly 3 weeks since the family last called on the public for help and more than a month since law enforcement held a news conference. And I'd like to be hopeful, and I'm sure the family is incredibly hopeful. And I say yes, keep hope. And so, the other thing with this family is they've been criticized because they're like, well, there's lots of other people missing. There are. We've read a number of them from the Vermont missing list, and the situations are completely kind of, I don't want to say they seem to have wandered off or have left. The reason Nancy Guthrie's case got so much attention is because there was evidence left there that looked like something violent occurred. That's why. Okay. Now, let's take a look here at this. I want to show you what Nancy Grace says because she is a credible source I would reference you to. As little as my tiny little station is, I do respect the fact that you're watching. And I do want you to go to a channel that I have to look her up again. I'm sorry. It kind of got lost here in the sauce, I guess.
Nearly 50 days now.
And the other one I don't go by is I'm not listening. I'm not some of these major other ones, or they seem major because they have many, many, many views. I don't listen to them. I listen to Nancy Grace because she stays with the facts. And these others have spun the facts since the beginning and sensationalized it. I don't trust that anymore. Okay, let's search for Nancy Grace. I guess I have to put Nancy Grace in here. The other missing person who was a general is that's not getting a lot of coverage, and that could get a lot of coverage, but for some reason they've stepped back on that, and some people suspect it's a covert operation. In other words, he didn't disappear, but they disappeared him for safety, something like that. I don't know. So this is let's listen to Nancy Grace, okay? Oh, I'm sorry. Let's get out of this. Get out of that.
Not only that, 2 days emerging, January 11 and January 24. They're significant, but why? Also, new images. You predicted there would be more images from Nancy's home. Now we're learning they're of the pool area, and Nano said, oh, they're irrelevant. Really? Then why did we see aerial footage of the FBI combing the pool area and even taking pictures? Good evening. I'm Nancy Grace. This is Crime Stories. I want to thank you for being with us. Straight out to Crime Stories investigative reporter Dave Mack. We are now learning of reports the Guthrie family, each one, including Savannah, including Annie Guthrie, her sister, including the brother, including the brother-in-law, much maligned, have passed polygraphs. What do you know?
Nancy, what we know right now is a former SWAT commander with a source inside Pima County Sheriff's Office says that the Guthrie family, the children and their spouses, were all polygraphed and passed the polygraph test with flying colors.
Wow.
Okay, guys. That right there is why I put this clip on. Okay? The family is not involved in this. This family it's clearly traumatized, okay, including their spouses. So they're trying to put to bed all of this. They're flat out. They're not even speculations. They're just flat out false statements about this family. So let's just listen for a few more minutes here.
Dave Mack, thank you for that. I want to go out to a special guest joining us right now. It's George Olivo. He is a certified polygrapher. He is former FBI, and you may have actually seen him over at our friends at A&E, because he is the polygrapher that polygraphed the Casey Anthony family. Now, there's George Anthony getting polygraphed. Remember, his daughter, Tot Mom Casey Anthony, accused him of wrongdoing, of all sorts of crimes in the Tot Mom murder case of her daughter, Kelly Anthony. George Olivo is the one that performed all the polygraph for A&E's Casey Anthony, the parents' lie detector test. And then you went on to create another A&E program. What was the name of it, George?
That was called a lie detector, truth or deception. That was a series that was patterned after the Casey Anthony.
Okay, so they go on like that, talking about the polygraph and how reliable that it has, that it can be, that it is. And so, because they've gotten much more technical. So that's on the Nancy Grace. So I listened to the Nancy Grace update, and she's giving the updates, guys, on a daily basis, just taking different angles of this case and kind of analyzing it, and doing, to keep clarity and to keep it forthright. And so I'm just loving that, because I think that's a nice, respectful way to do that. And like I said, this case is getting national attention because the tentative, it looks like, the scene that was on the porch with blood, that tells you something occurred, either unusual. Okay, so it's a crime scene. And now, with that said, also I'm going to do a video and update a little bit on, and I mean a little because they're not putting a lot out on this guy, William McCaslin. He was a general, and he was the head of the UFO science department, where they did re-engineering, and he had a lot of information, they said, in his mind. And they said that it's looking like what shall I say? The situation looks like he left with his boots and some kind of a weapon. So, look, like I said, what something looks like doesn't mean that's what it is. That's why, right, they're doing all the investigation. So anyway, I say keep hope and prayers, because we do not know any outcome here. And, the thing is with Nancy Gutherie, they haven't found her, guys. So that's why this case is, still open, and it will remain open until they find her. And much like some of the list we went through on the Vermont missing people, some of the people were on that list still that have actually been found. So they're still on the list. Those should be closed. So if they find them alive or unalive, then the case has closure, But a lot of them on that list, and there's not many as compared to the nation, right, on Vermont list anyway, in recent times anyway. And they're more pretty much cases like of a silver alert or something like that. So, and there's a few that are really questionable, and we went over those too. But we'll next month we'll look at it and see if there's any other updates. Um, so with that, I just wanted to get on here and give that short update of Nancy Guthrie. And hey, I say keep your eyes peeled because you never know what people are capable of. My initial thought was they drove her like to New York. I kind of had a feeling for some reason that these people stemmed out of New York. I had that feeling. However, they're saying that they're local. So the FBI and whatnot, they know better, of course, than I do. But the only reason I had that feeling is because Savannah is from, lives in New York, and I was connecting that. So I was just initially feeling like this had something to do with her, for lack of a better way to say it, some kind of message, something to Savannah. I just had that feeling without even knowing anything. And but that was just an initial thing. So, but however, with that said, we just never really know. So keep your eyes and ears open always. And not just like people's looks change. Can I just say, like she would have lost more weight. Her hair would be different. Look, her looks change now. And I say that with anybody missing. But if you meet somebody or you come upon a situation, guys, that you think maybe this person, maybe somebody is lost, you know what I mean? Like, report it because it can't hurt. Just say to your local authorities, it seems like this person is lost. Even if you perceive them, for example, to be a homeless, because some people, like, there's one case that bothers me here in Vermont, and I want to say his name's Joshua. He was wearing a checkered coat and camouflage. We were reading it on the last video or so. He was in a single car accident and then he went missing. What bothers me about that is, was someone chasing him? Was it like, was he involved in something he shouldn't have been or something? Or did he hit his head, walk away and have no sense of memory and end up with somebody or out of state? You don't know, because at that time they combed through the river over there, and as I understand it, it sounded like it was pretty quickly, but they didn't find any evidence of him there. So anyway, there's certain cases that stand out in my mind, where I feel that and there's many times somebody who saw something and they don't even know that they saw it, and they're mentioning it to their friend. God, I saw this weird situation. You know what I mean? And and if someone's in distress, now apparently there's a signal. I don't know if any of you know the signal. We're going to go over some of this stuff. There's a universal signal that we should all know. I never learned it in school. Maybe it's new because I'm pretty old. So maybe, but it's a signal that if you've been kidnapped, like you're given the signal. I don't know if it's something like this. I don't know, but I'm going to, do any of you know what it is? We're going to look it up and we're going to go over some signals that, and that has worked sometimes. There was a case of these two gentlemen in back of a car, and the car in front of them was at a stoplight, and the person in the car was bounded, I guess, to the door, or it couldn't move. But I guess you know how the lanes change, and so they pulled up, and she kind of, with her eyes, was giving a signal. So the two of them headed off the car and they called the police. They saved her life. So, with that said, keep your eyes and ears open and don't be afraid to say something if you see something. And with that, I send you love and light.